Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm professional sports handicapper Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com. As always, I'm joined on the Winner Circle by Mr. Chip Chirimbes, a veteran, longtime handicapper, a successful one, and proud to call him my friend. Chip,
Thank you.
haven't talked to you in a bit. How you doing?
Well, it's been a up and down week. I feel like the ocean, ebb and flow. I win in basketball in the NBA, and I get crushed in the NCAA. Then I come back and I go 3-0 on the other side and go 1-2. So it's been in and out for the last 2 weeks, and trying to get a foothold. I thought I was doing well, 9-2. Then you lose 5 in a row. But that's the name of the game out here, Ross. But with big games coming up now, we have games that are so important. And I think the focal point and the money and our focus is really going to be in tune here. And I'm looking forward to this, not only the playoffs and the NCAA tournament.
Tell folks where they can find you on the internet, and also if you want them to give you a call and design a special package for them to their needs, how can they do that?
Thank you very much, Ross. I'm at chipwins.com. And each and every day I'll post 3 games, except on Saturday, where I always come up with my Fab 5. We've had 6 outrageous Saturdays in a row, with the worst one being a 3-2 Saturday. Last week, 5-1, highlighted by Kansas's win over Baylor. And we have more of the same this week. Big games, big money, big matchups, Ross. I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about it. SEC conference games, Big Ten games, and in the Big East as well. These games decide seeding, even in the Pac-12, where we're going to be talking about a game today.
We're taping on Friday, March the 5th. It's about 5:45 p.m. Eastern time. So keep that in mind, folks. We're going to be discussing 4 big games on the college basketball card on Saturday. And then we're also going to be giving you a free college basketball pick from each one of us on the Saturday card as well. Let's start with the first game, Chip. Duke at North Carolina, 6 p.m. Eastern time start. Rematch of a game that was played at Duke a couple of weeks ago, in which the North Carolina Tar Heels came out on top. North Carolina right now, Chipper, is a 2.5-point favorite. The total in this game is 49. What's your early take here?
Well, of course, they're looking for Duke to extract some revenge. If they were a little bit better quality team, I'm kind of leery of it now. 11-10 on the year. And Ross, a dismal 7 covers in 21 games, 7-14 against the number. Carolina's picked up a little momentum. They went to Syracuse and got beat as they were supposed to, because last Saturday we had Florida State, and Florida State came from behind. And North Carolina overcame a 16-point deficit, and then they go out to Syracuse, jump out to a 13-2 lead. You and I talked about this, and they never had a prayer in that game. Yeah. Carolina's struggling, against teams, losing teams, believe it or not. They're 3-13-1 against the number. Although they're 4-0 in their last 4 at home. A really tough call, because the line is very short. The line is very shallow. North Carolina has a better record, and yet Duke is only getting 2.5 here. This young Duke team has been getting beat of late. We've seen them lose to Louisville, and they lost in overtime again the other night. So Duke has really got to come together. They're very young. They have 4 freshmen in the lineup getting most of the minutes. And I see it as a tough spot for them. But Ross, you and I both know, when you make something so inviting, if the Tar Heels are going to be favored by less than a 3-point shot, it makes me kind of leery on the game.
Yeah. We both had Syracuse in that game against North Carolina, and
Right.
They won by 2. Syracuse, they were +2 or 2.5, something in that range. Or were they? No, they were a 2-point dog. And
Right.
The game really wasn't as close as the final score indicates,
No.
as Syracuse was in control throughout the second half. In any event, Duke, they win 4 in a row. They get back into the bubble conversation, the NCAA
Right.
tournament, Chipper. And then they lose back-to-back games in overtime against Louisville. And who's their other loss again? Louisville and Georgia Tech. Both
Right.
games went overtime. The Louisville game was at home. Georgia Tech was on the road. How do they recover? They're going to be playing with revenge. They lost at home to North Carolina on a high-scoring game
Yep.
by 4. So again, Chipper, I think both of these teams have been overvalued all year, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
indicative of obviously their ATS record. Now, Duke is 11-10. That's not very good. And North Carolina is not much better. They're over 500, but big game in terms of NCAA tournament at large implications, because you never know. One of these two teams could win the NCAA tournament, Chipper, but whoever wins this game is going to help themselves in terms of their NCAA tournament resume.
That those two overtime losses has to be a learning experience for this young team. This is a very youthful team, and the people I talk to are claiming that next year is going to be the year to watch out for Duke. They're 2-9 in the road against teams with winning records. This is against the point, so they just haven't measured up against the better teams, and it's part of it most likely is that they are so young, and they are. This is an OJT thing here, getting on the job training while they're out there, and they have to mature mighty quick. I think that this kid, I think his name was Hurt Artist, big power forward for North Carolina. He looked outrageous last week, and they still lost the game. So I'm looking for a really tough matchup between these two rivals. I mean, Duke's going to come at them with whatever they have. And Carolina needs to win more in seeding, because I don't think Duke's going to make it. They'll be lucky if they get to the NIT, to tell you the truth, particularly with the NIT going down to only 16 teams this year,
yeah.
Ross.
Yeah. So I can't see them accepting. I don't know if there's CIT and CBI is going to play this year. I really haven't looked into that yet. But a program like Duke or North Carolina is not going to accept a bid to go to those minor tournaments. The NIT at the worst.
I would think if the NIT cuts down to 16, those other ones aren't even going to give it a shot.
You would think so, right? I mean, anyway.
But what do we know?
Yeah, not much when it comes to that kind of stuff. We do know how to pick winners.
Yes.
Something to keep in mind here, North Carolina is only -2.5, and the Tar Heels are 5-0 straight up at home this year in conference home games, and Duke 2-5 in their last 7 in conference away games. So something to keep in mind there. But like they say in rivalries, Chip, throw the records out the window. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Let's get to the next game we're going to be talking about, and that's going to be number 21, Virginia, who's reeling right now at Louisville, 4:00 Eastern. Virginia right now, a 2-point road favorite, the total awfully low and justifiably so at 123.5. Your early take.
Well, a little research on this one. We know Virginia hasn't been playing all that well. They are the defending national champs at 16-6 because of not having a tournament last year. Louisville coming off that tough overtime game against Duke. And, they didn't play all that well. That's one game that I sat and I watched. This is a defensive team, as is the Cavaliers, and neither of them have that great an offense going for them. They don't have that stellar outside shooter or that guy that's going to dominate offensively. Virginia's only covered 2 of 6 on the road against teams with winning records. They've gone 10-11 on the year against the number. And Ross, 0-4 their last 4 games out, but they did win last time out in a non-cover. And you know what that win did for them? I'm pretty sure you're aware. It clinched a double bye in the ACC tournament.
And that's huge.
Now, Louisville's in a position here where if they win this game, they get a double bye as well. So the incentive here is for Louisville. And I'm thinking that Cavaliers maybe won't be as high for this game, other than the fact that they got a great coach, Bennett, who's going to have to rile this team up because they haven't been playing well. Like you said, 0-4 the last 4 games. Maybe the total's the way to go, Ross, because these teams do play such great defense. That's what happened. That's how Louisville just clamped down on his Duke team last Sunday. Unders 8-3 for Virginia on the road. And overall for Virginia against teams with winning records, 40-19-1 to the under.
Wow.
It's tough. 123.5.
Talk about making an uncomfortable. Yeah, talk about making an uncomfortable play. Going under 123.5 would certainly qualify in that regard. Not going to catch me doing it. It may go under. You got a point. But, Virginia lost 3 of their last 4. Like you said, they failed to cover in all 4 as Miami, who's a terrible team. They beat by 11, but failed to cover as a 15-point favorite. Louisville, 9-1 on their home court this year. The only loss came to nationally ranked number 11 Florida State. So they've been pretty good at home. Louisville had that 21-day layoff because of COVID issues.
Yeah.
They came back and they got shellacked at North Carolina, but they bounced back to win their last two. If you're looking for, this is a tough call. Virginia, you would have to think they're going to bounce back eventually. But trying to play them right now on the road as a favorite is like trying to catch an inside straight. You're due, but
And I don't think there's no reason for them to have to win this game. They're a small 2-point favorite on the road. And like I said, this Louisville team, 5-2-1 at home against the number, which is certainly respectable. But, this is another defensive team, Ross, this Louisville team, 30-13-2 the under against winning teams. I think that's the way to go. And, we're worried about Virginia, who I'm sure Coach Bennett wants this team to be ready to play and is not going to sit and say, take the day off because you're getting 2 byes. And Louisville has the incentive to get the double bye. Maybe the under's the way to go here because these teams, this number 123.5, how do you play under? I think that's
you don't watch the game, that's for sure.
Oh, wow.
But to your point, you look at KenPom, which I like to look at for analytics. Virginia, there's 357 teams in Division I basketball this year. Right. And Virginia ranks dead last in terms of adjusted tempo. And that means they get their numbers are 60.3 possessions per 40-minute game. That's extremely slow pace. Right. On the other hand, Louisville's not much better. They're 289th at 66.4 possessions per 40 minutes. So again, if you like up and down basketball and you like a lot of scoring, this isn't the game to watch.
Right.
In any event, Illinois, the number 4 team in the country, coming off that huge upset win at Michigan, at Ohio State, number 7 in the country. Ohio State right now reeling. Illinois playing good ball. Since their leading scorer, Ayo Dosunmu, went out, he averages 21 points per game. They've gone 3-0 straight up in ATS without him. So they haven't missed a beat. And I can't see them playing him in this game. He's got a broken nose. He's been out for the last 3 games. But, it hasn't affected Illinois' play. But sooner or later, if you keep going to war without your best player, it'll catch up to you. Ohio State's got to be desperate right now. They've lost 3 in a row, and they failed to cover the last 3. What do you think, Chip?
Well,
Ohio State, by the way, Chipper, Ohio State is a 1-point favorite, and the total in this game is 152.
Okay, there's some interesting numbers surrounding this game. And in fact, Ohio State's lost the 3 games, Michigan State, and Iowa last Sunday. And Kyle Young had a concussion and missed the first 2. He did return last Sunday against Iowa, and he didn't play well at all. They said it looked like he was in a fog as it was. But Ohio State's 7-1 against the number after double-digit losses. They're 14-6 at home overall against the points in the last 20. Now, 6 weeks ago, they beat the Illini in Illinois, 87-81, I think, it was. But they're coming off that huge loss on Sunday. And like you said, Michigan got pounded by this Illinois team. The Illini beat them by 23 points, and they held the Wolverines to 53 points. But guess what? Anytime this Illinois team wins a game by 20 or more, Ross, they lost the last 4 times out. So, the numbers.
They failed to cover the last 4 times.
Right. You're right. They failed to cover. And, and in the last, they're getting a point here, which is negligible. The last 8 meetings, the Dogs been good 6 times. The road team's been good 4 of the last 5 meetings. And, I like to look at that stuff. But when it comes down to where a game's a pick, Illinois may go off 1.5 or 2. We don't know right now. And Ohio State, I think, has to be highly motivated here, having lost 3 in a row and coming up the favorite. I think the odds maker is trying to tell me that the Buckeyes are the side here. And if I see the public, if we see the public move the Illini to the favorite, I would think the Buckeyes would probably be a side.
I would be shocked if Illinois is not a public play here because no disrespect to anybody out there listening, but those who do it recreationally and like to dabble in once in a while, they look at recent history. And this is almost a pick'em game. It very well might close as a pick'em game. And you got one team that's won 3 in a row against another team that's lost 3 in a row. And so to me, this is an ideal spot to go with the Buckeyes, but I want to see where the public betting trends go first. It's never that easy when it comes to sports betting, right, Chip? If it
Uh,
looks that easy, it most likely isn't. And this
I
certainly
never
looks
speak.
like, Illinois, from a layman's standpoint, is the play, but I beg to differ.
I was speaking with, I was talking with this afternoon, another man in the business, and we both acknowledged that if it was that easy and you could win, nobody'd be working.
No,
Everyone would be betting, and
exactly.
there'd be no bookmakers. So it's the line is there for a certain number, for a certain reason. And like you said, Ohio State opens the favorite. I doubt if they're going to close the favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'd be shocked again if Illinois isn't a public play here. USC at UCLA, 4 o'clock Eastern time. USC right now, a 1.5 point road favorite. The total 135.5 road favorite. They play in the same city. UCLA's got a lot of revenge to make up here, as they were blown out at USC earlier this season and really shut down. I got a free play in this game, so I'm not going to go into detail myself, but you can. What's your thoughts,
I'll be
Chip?
glad to. I'd be glad to, of what I know about these two teams. I mean, it's difficult to get a beat on them because we don't get to see them as often as these other clubs. But I know I like USC for a good part of the year. They've gone 16-10 against the number, which is over 60%, 62%, and we'd accept that. Number 15 efficiency defense in the nation. The Trojans play ball on the defensive end, and guess what? UCLA is number 19 in offensive efficiency. So this is going to be a clash of styles. The difference between rated 15 and rated 19 is negligible. It's very, very small. 12-5 to the over is USC. 9-3 to the over against teams with winning records. Either of these teams, believe it or not, has a chance to be a number 1 seed in the Pac-12, Ross, if Oregon falls this weekend. And I don't know how they're going to. They're playing so well. But the thing that caught my eye about this game is not so much that UCLA is only 1-6 against teams with winning records. That's against the points, of course. But they are a 1.5 point dog. And Ross, coming into this game, they're 11-0 at home. So, that to me, that I said, whoa, this team hasn't lost a game at home. They've got great revenge on their side. They're 12-5-1 against the number at home, and they're a dog here. So maybe the bookmaker's trying to tell us something, and maybe this is going to be another one of those games, Ross, where the line or the number moves to the other side. I wouldn't be too sure about that, because I do believe, and I think most people regard USC as the better team.
Yeah, they're the better team. UCLA, to me, they've been disappointing this year. All 5 starters were back. So in USC, struggling a bit of late. They fell out of the top 25, but still not a team to take lightly, especially when it comes to tournament time with that defensive intensity. Anyway, let's get to our free pick.
Okay.
Let's start with you.
I'm going to have to go to the game where you said you want no part of it. That's playing Louisville and Virginia to stay under that 123.5. I mean, I expect the score to be 61-57 for somebody. And, and if this game doesn't go overtime, I tell you, it could go overtime and still stay under the way they play defense and the way these two teams shoot. They don't have that 3-point guy out there that's going to put a bunch of, he makes 3 out of 4 possessions. That's not going to happen with either of these sides here. So, and they're not the greatest of foul shooting teams either. So I'd look for this game to stay under the total.
Yep, and I advise anybody who follows Chip on this not to watch the game, and especially if you have a full head of hair, because watching an under 123.5 is just excruciating, painful, and just
that's Ross. What you're expecting is neither team to score 30 points and a half. Right? I mean, they're expecting both teams to stay under 30 points and a half. So I think it's really hard and very difficult. It's not palatable at all. You know how you said you got to make tough decisions?
This is one of those uncomfortable choices and uncomfortable picks that you need to make on occasion if you want to be successful. And so Chipper likes this game to go under 123.5. That's Virginia, Louisville, under 123.5. Speaking of unders. Okay. My free pick, USC at UCLA, the total right now is 135.5.
135.5.
You mentioned that you already stole a little bit of my thunder here. Is USC is As far as defensive efficiency goes, they're number 15 in the country, like Chip said. And how they figured that out, folks, is USC gives up 90 points per 100 possessions on the defensive end of the floor. That's phenomenal. That's less than 1 point, 0.9 points per possession for the year. Now, on the other hand, Chipper did mention that UCLA, I think you said number 14 they were, Chip, offensive efficiency?
19, number 19, I think
19.
it was.
Okay. So how they figure that out is how many points you score per 100 possessions. Okay. Now, having said that, UCLA is also 333rd out of 357 Division I teams in terms of tempo. What does that mean? That means that how many points they score, excuse me. It means, yeah, go ahead. Tempo. Again, it's how fast you play. I'll make that short. I'm not going to get into this long analytical detail other than to say UCLA plays at an absorbently slow pace, one of the slowest in America. Now, having said that, because they use the majority of the shot clock, doesn't mean they're not offensively efficient. That's not what I'm implying. Right. But both of these teams, if you look at their tempo on the defensive end, they force opponents to use almost 2/3 of the shot clock on average per possession. So to me, this is going to be a slow tempoed game. Teams might shoot better than 50% on each side, and this game could still stay under. Follow me? And the other point is the first meeting, USC won that game, and I'm looking for that final score. It was a very low scoring game. And I know that UCLA scored less than 50, and I think there was 109 points scored total in that game. As a matter of fact, it was 66-48 USC. So that's what, 114 points? And in that game, UCLA shot 33% from the field, and USC wasn't much better at 41%, and there was only a combined 20 free throws, which tells me not only these teams are good defensively, they play at a slow tempo, but they also are very disciplined on the defensive end of the floor and don't foul much. So I'm going under 135.5 in the USC and UCLA game on Saturday. Chipper has under 123.5 on the Virginia and Louisville game. Ross Benjamin, yours truly, USC, UCLA under 135.5. Those are our college basketball free picks on Saturday, March the 6th. Chipper, before we leave, just tell the folks once again how they could reach you, anything you want to share with the audience.
Well, I want to share that it's obvious that we don't kibitz before the show, because here I am using your stuff, right? I mean, I didn't have any idea who you were going to use or what you were going to do.
Yeah, I mean, so, hey, I'm impressed.
We're totally impromptu here. We don't rehearse. We're just coming out with what we want, what we feel, and we're not trying to, aid or chide or push anybody into any side. Each other, I mean, that is. Yeah. Listen, chipwins.com, Saturday 5-1 last week. We've had 6 straight winning Saturdays in college basketball action. Don't miss it. Chipwins.com. You can log on, follow the buy links, or tell you what, give me a call direct. My number's there, and we'll negotiate a package for you that can possibly take you through the NCAA tournament, and it'll be a lot cheaper for you than actually going through the site. So I thank you for that, Ross. It's chipwins.com. The number is 702-931-CHIP, 702-931-2447.
Thank you for clearing that up, because who knows? I mean, the old days used to have the ABC next to number 2 and the DEF. We're showing our age now when you say 1-800-CHIP. Anyway, my site's rbwins.com, and I've gone 10-3 the last 3 days with my basketball picks. I will have more up tomorrow, which is Saturday, and you might be viewing it on Saturday. So today, regardless, I'm going to have a college basketball 10-star top play plus 3 or 4 5-star selections, which are my lowest rated selections. Not lowest rated, but they're not rated as high as the 10-star top play. But I will tell you this, my 10-star top plays in college basketball, going all the way back to 2017, is a documented 68-43 with my last 111. Folks, that's 61%. And anybody who knows anything about gambling, sports betting, I should say, knows that going 61% over 111 plays is pretty damn good. You can make a lot of money. Also, reminder, next week, the NBA will resume 27-14 with my last 41 in the NBA. Currently at sports capping, I'm ranked number 7 in the country among 75 handicappers that are monitored in the NBA. So again, keep that in mind too. rbwins.com. Again, if you would like to reach me, you can call me direct. I hire no salespeople. You'll talk to me only. And I could tailor a package specifically to your needs. 781-571-0299. Chipper, always a pleasure. And we'll get together next week again when the NBA resumes on Thursday. Until then, for Ross Benjamin and Chip Chirimbes, thank you folks for viewing. Good luck and God bless.